Okay, I am so excited to share this with all of you, this class. And what we're really going to be talking about is what it takes to begin to do that. And it starts with healing your inner child. And I love this because healing our inner child is at the core of everything we do. And what we're going to cover during this class is we're going to talk about why healing your inner child is key to fulfillment. We're going to talk about how to begin the healing process. And we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you one step to opening up your creative voice. And then after we do that, I'm going to share a new way that I have been working on for almost a year to work with me. And then I'm going to open it up to question and answers. So does that all sound good? Okay, fantastic. So let's talk about neuroscience. Shows us that our main belief systems, patterns, subconscious patterning, our beliefs about who we are in the world, all of that is formed between the ages of 3 and 10, with 7 being the majority of these patterns, beliefs, energy constructs, and what we think of ourselves are formed by age 7. And that's a big deal because so many of us are running patterns at the age that we set these patterns. And as children, what happens is we don't have the capacity, the emotional capacity to really handle certain things. And it doesn't have to be a big deal because we don't have, between the ages of 3 and 10, we don't have the emotional fortitude that we have as adults. We also don't have the reasoning and the brain development skills that we have as adults. So what happens is we have an emotional situation that happens and we can't process as a child all of the energy of that emotion. And I like to visualize it as a tube that's running down. And as a child, our tube is pretty thin. And we process out as much as we can process out. And then the rest of the energy gets stuck in the body somewhere. But there's also a decision that goes along with that we make at that time as a child. And that decision about ourselves also gets stored with that pattern of energy. And then we have an automatic mode of behavior that gets attached to that pattern, belief, behavior that is subconscious. So whenever we find ourselves in a situation that feels similar, it vibrates the energy of that pattern and triggers it. And then an automatic mode of behavior is triggered. And this is fascinating to me because have any of you ever overreacted to something and thought, why did I do that? Or you meet somebody and just immediately you're kind of triggered by them. And there's always, whenever that happens for me, I have to just, it's like, oh, there's something there for me to look at. There's something there that's up and ready to clear. It's more about me than the person that just triggered me for some reason. And we look at that and, I can give you an example when it can be a big emotional traumatic event, or it can be something really small. And one of the patterns that was driving me was set by something really small. And I was, I think I was 6 or 7. My dad came home from work and I always wanted attention from my dad. I always, looked for his approval, wanted him to be proud of me. And he came home from work, he walked in the front door and I had something I really wanted to share with him. And I was jumping up and down and excited to share with him. And, when you come home from work, you've got your, I didn't even let him get in the door and set anything down. And he got kind of mad at me and sent me to my room and told me he needed a minute. So I ran up to my room crying. And my mom came up after a little while and sat down on the bed with me. And I was just crying. I didn't understand why he didn't want to talk to me. And my mom said that maybe if you just calm down a little bit and are a little more mature. And that immediately set, and I don't remember the whole conversation and everything. I just remember that part because it came up when I was working through this pattern. And it set this belief or pattern that I had to calm down and not be so big. And I had to be more mature and quiet and responsible. And that was kind of the pattern, the mode of behavior that got attached to that. And that wasn't that big a deal. I mean, I know I come home and when everybody, jumps at you to talk to your kids, or it's kind of like, ooh, wait, give me a minute. But there's so many little things like that happen that are still running our lives if we aren't looking at that. And one of the ways we can start to heal, and I'm talking about healing the pattern versus clearing the pattern. Does that make sense? There's two different things that happen. And I did a free masterclass called The Missing Piece that gives you a 3-step process to be able to kind of begin to clear. So if you want that, just put in the chat, send me class, and then I'll send you a link to the replay of that masterclass. But as far as healing, it's really important we look to heal our inner child, our little girl. And I heard Viola Davis. Do you guys all love Viola Davis? Oh my God, I love her. But I heard in an interview her say that don't mistake achievement for healing. Isn't that powerful? I love that so much because it's so true. And sometimes we're driven to achieve, masking healing. And the first thing we want to do is really find the perfection in it, because nothing's wrong with you. Really looking at your inner child as, she's been protecting you. She's wise. When I look at the decision I made at that time at 7, and it was brilliant. And it was smart to kind of pull back and play a little smaller, because as a young child, I was mouthy and I was in trouble all the time. And I was telling people, what's up. Part of my intuitive gifts is I see the patterns and energy constructs and beliefs that need to be cleared in the body. And nobody wants a 6-year-old telling them what's up. I got a lot of trouble, a lot. And I can't imagine where I would end up if that decision wasn't made to protect me. So it's looking back and really finding the perfection in it. Nothing's wrong with you. I heard I was listening to another podcast, and I can't remember. I think it was Rita Moreno. And it was a fabulous interview, but she's 90. Couldn't believe it when I was listening to it. But she talked about her little girl telling her she wasn't good enough and that, she told you so, she couldn't do it. And she was going through this and she said, I just had to learn to send her to her room. And I thought, oh no, that's not healed. Our little girl didn't that's not the voice of our little girl. That's the voice of a brat. That's outside of ourselves. And we all have that voice. Would you agree at times? But that I call the brat. It's the bully. It's the bully outside of yourself. Our inner child is doing everything she can to protect us and to make us safe, and has made decisions that you really want to find the perfection in, because there's nothing wrong with you. I really want you to hear that. And then once you do that, you find the perfection. So I want you to think about recently. Have you had a moment where you feel like you're bumping up against some resistance, or there may be something that you've been wanting to do and you just haven't been able to do it, or somebody recently has triggered you? If you can just think of a moment that's happened recently, can you all kind of think of a moment? Because I want to take you through part of finding the perfection and beginning the healing process. Are y'all game? Yeah? Okay, awesome. So what I want you to do is I want you to just kind of get comfortable in your seat. I want you to close your eyes, take a deep breath. And we're just going to do this in a couple minutes, but I want to invite you to do this process again and bring in as much visualization as you can. But for now, what I want you to do is I want you to see yourself at 7, standing in front of you. That amazing, courageous, bold, beautiful little girl that was so open, and I just get goosebumps. I want you to see her in all her beauty. And I want you sitting in a comfy chair, and she's sitting in front, and she's standing in front of you. And I want you to picture yourself picking her up and putting her in your lap and holding her. And you're going to have a conversation with her, thanking her for all the protection she's given you this entire time in your life, the wise decisions she's made. And you can bring up that moment if you found one of those moments. And if you didn't, it's okay. Just continue the conversation. But if you found that, you can talk to her about it. I appreciate that this is there and you're trying to protect me. But now I've got it. You can free her that I will protect you now. You're safe. And we're going to do this thing and it's going to be okay. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to feel into that conversation with your inner child. Now I want you to give her a big hug. Tell her what you need to tell her, and then come back to me. How was that? Does anybody want to share? Just, I think you can unmute yourself if you do.
I'll share.
Okay, Debbie.
So my little girl didn't want to sit on my lap. She wanted to keep going around behind the chair and hide. And I kept trying to get her to come out. And what I realized is that's what I do is I hide so no one can see the real me. And so I invited her to come out and I said, it's okay to be seen. So that was big for me.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I love that. And
Yeah.
I think that's something we all can relate to a little bit is really being seen for who we are. That's
And then she
amazing.
got really excited, which, you know, she's always been this quiet, shy little thing. And it was like to see her get excited was really cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing that, Debbie. Thank you.
Yeah.
Does anybody else want to share? That was awesome. Okay. Then what's so great about what Debbie said is one, I think it's something I know I have dealt with, and I love the visual of, you know, so much. It tells us so much when we connect with our inner child. And when she got excited, the cool thing about that is when we begin to have these conversations with our inner child and connect, then we begin to open our creative voice. And we can begin to integrate our inner child. And we create more freedom and space for ourselves. We step into our authentic self more fully and can stand in that place of being fully expressed and open that up for ourselves. And it's an evolution. All of this is an evolution. Our life is an evolution of this, but this is a starting point. And it's easier to be seen, to learn, to grow and evolve. And the things that come back are discovery, courage, the curiosity of our inner child. And we can integrate the inner child back in when we can invite her in to help us. Because I know I wanted my inner child to come in for this masterclass, to bring in that spirit of play, that creativity. Because even in the hardest of times, there's one thing I know, you can always bring in moments of joy. You can always have a spirit of play within it. And when you're writing, when you're in your work, when you're just in any aspect of your daily life, to invite her in to play with you, to be part of it. But you've got her. You're going to protect her now. She can just play. You're grown up now. You can do this. Like, I have this conversation, and at the end of 2022, I had a big conversation with my inner child to step into more and have a bigger impact. And, you know, things come up. There's layers. And it was to just connect and invite her in. It's like, it's okay. We really have it. I really have this. I want you to play. I want you to express yourself. And I just had this conversation with her, and it was amazed how much space and freedom it gave me and courage to really just step into what you want and what you want to create. And it seems like a simple process, but it's so powerful. And I find it's some of the most simple processes that give us the most power, that give us the most space to step into all that we are. And women are at my heart. I worked with women my whole life, and I know the power of women. And I want you to be able to go out in the world and have the kind of impact you have and can have. And I want you to be big and bold and bright and be seen, because we're all here right now at this time for a reason. And when you start to heal and you start to clear these patterns and transform, you really begin to step into all that you can create. You can create the more, and it's okay to want more. You know, I know sometimes we can feel a little guilty about we've accomplished a lot, we have so much, but it's okay to have a big life. And when you step into your power and you step into your light, you're owning your magic. And I want you to own your magic. I want you to know how beautiful you are. And I see that. I see your gifts. I see your essence. I see your potential. I see what's ready to clear. And it's time. There's never been, I don't think there's ever been a better time to be able to do this work and heal and create what you want to create with your own rules. And this is all part of the healing process. And this is the first step. So what I want to do is I want to invite you to continue to have these conversations with your inner child and continue to invite her in and just play with it. I want you to kind of experiment with it and play with it. Don't just trust me. See what it does for you. Play with that. And be curious about it. Judgment free, absolutely judgment free. You know, just like what Debbie shared is, you know, how cool was that? You know, to see your child, your inner child behind the chair, not wanting to be seen, and then there you are. That's possibility that you all can create in different levels of your life. And I believe if you're here right now, just not necessarily on this class, but just at this time, you're here to have an impact. And we're all going to have an impact in different ways. And that's unique to you. It's absolutely unique to you. So I really want to invite you to continue this step of when somebody triggers you, or you're bumping up against something, or you feel resistance to something, to just sit back and bring in your inner child and have a conversation. Find the perfection in it. And that she has protected you, and you know that she's scared right now, and that's why it's coming up. And have that conversation, and then invite her in with you to do whatever it is that you're doing. So 3 steps. Play with these 3 steps.